גם אם לפעמים הולך קשה, תגיד תודה, תגיד תודה. אתה קם בבוקר ויש עבודה, תגיד תודה, תגיד תודה. ודע שהחיים הם מתנה, תחייך.
Rabotai, good morning, welcome back to Dalet Amot Shel Halacha. We'll start in a few seconds.
איזה טוב השם, איזה טוב השם, איזה טוב, איזה טוב, איזה טוב השם. כמה טוב השם, כמה טוב השם, כמה טוב, כמה טוב, כמה טוב השם. גם אם לפעמים אתה נופל, אל תתבלבל, אל תתבלבל.
Rabotai, welcome back to Dalet Amot Shel Halacha. Bilvad, Elo Lakadosh Baruch Hu, Be'olamo, Elo Arba Amot Shel Halacha. All Hashem has in this world is the people that sit in Halacha in the Arba Amot space. You know, we need to realize one thing. When it comes to learning Torah, it's not that you want to be forced to learn Torah because you have to learn Torah. No. Rabotai, you have to want to learn Torah. And one of the things, unfortunately, we don't realize that when you learn Torah, it has to be done with a lot of passion. It has to be done with a lot of simcha. So one of the things that I'll share with you guys, one of the things that we have when it comes to House of Torah, when I teach the guys Gemara, when we do turn the page, we have such a thing that's called turn the page, kiss the page, love the page, be with the page, sleep with the page. Everything's about the page because really everything's about Torah. If I can get, I just want to show you how it goes. It's just on Rabotai, we need to realize Torah is not something a person has to be bored by, chas v'shalom. Torah is something a person has to love. Let's see over here. Okay, that's the siyum. Okay, let's see over here. What do we have over here?
Turn the page.
Kiss the page.
When someone says kiss the page, love the page, be with the
Make sure you're
page.
there for the scene.
I'm having the next loss because of the page. Woo!
So basically, we're gonna put on music right now.
Just get out, man. That's all I have, bro.
Well, listen to Rav Chaim Igal.
So this, okay, this one didn't have the music. 1 second. You see this one? So Rabotai. So this is basically we have over there. Another one we have.
Kiss the pig.
And so on and so forth. There's a lot of this almost every single night. When we do start turning the page, we have this whole thing. Rabotai, we have over here. So basically,
Why is nobody kissing the page? Kiss the page.
okay, Rabotai. So basically, it's something like that we do almost every single time. The reason we do it is because we have to show, Rabotai, we have to show how much we love the Torah. People go when it comes to, on Monday, Friday, and Shabbat, not Monday, Friday, Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat, when we take out the Sefer Torah, we go, we hug the Torah. We have that opportunity to kiss the Torah, to love the Torah, to be with the Torah every single moment of the day. You could kiss the page. There's nothing beautiful than being with the Torah. There's nothing more great than learning the Torah. So, that's why I just began with a small introduction of music, just, to get the momentum going. People have to want to learn the Torah. In any event, we are continuing in part 4 of the Shiur in Siman Reish Tzadik Tet. We are in page 148. We are moving to the second phase in Halacha Aleph. Let's just do a small recap from what we learned yesterday. Yesterday we saw in Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, that is in 271 in Halacha Dalet, Halacha 4, that the Shulchan Aruch said that it is forbidden for a person to taste anything before he does Kiddush. We saw he's not allowed to eat or drink even water unless he does Kiddush. That was part 1 of the Halacha. Part 2 of the Halacha, we saw even if a person accepted on himself during the day, meaning after Plaga Mincha, he accepted upon himself Shabbat, but he still did not go ahead and daven Aravit, we're still going to tell him over here that it is asur for him to drink even water until he does Kiddush. However, we did see that Chacham Avadi says, he agrees with this halakha of the Shulchan Aruch, but nevertheless the Chacham Avadi said, and Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shuta also said, that if a person has a need, if there's a great need for a person to drink now, after he accepted on himself Shabbat, without davening Aravit, the prayer of the evening of Shabbat, if he accepted upon himself during the day, meaning after 5 o'clock, he accepted upon himself Shabbat, or his wife accepted upon herself Shabbat with the lighting of the candles, but they still did not daven the evening prayer of Aravit of Shabbat, we're going to tell you, Chamad is going to tell you, you're allowed to be lenient up until sunset, and Rav Yitzchak Yosef added even up until nightfall, meaning when the 3 stars come out, he gives you even the Ben Hashmashot period, the 15 minutes period after sunset, like we explained in part 3. However, Rabotai, we need to make no mistake that all this that we're speaking about, the first 2 cases, that if a person accepted upon himself Shabbat during the day, or if he did not accept Shabbat during the day, but now sunset, and he for whatever reason needs to drink, all this is good as long as you did not daven the Aravit prayer of Shabbat. Once you daven Aravit prayer of Shabbat, you are no longer allowed to eat or drink even water until you do Kiddush of Friday night of Shabbat. However, we also have to make no mistake, also once the 3 stars come out, so if we're going to stay with our time, 6 is sunset, 6:15 is when the 3 stars come out. After 6:15, you're not allowed to eat, drink, nothing, not even water, until you do Kiddush. There are no exceptions for there. Okay, so let's get back to the Halacha and the Shulchan Aruch. This will be part 4 of the Shiur. Let's just read the first part, the first phase of the Halacha, and then we'll move on to the second phase. Asur lechol shum davar or afilu l'shod yain or shar mashkin chutz mimayim mishtechishach ad sheyavdil. A person is not allowed to eat anything or drink wine or any other type of beverage except for water from sunset until he does Havdalah. That was the first part of the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan halachically tells us a person is not allowed to eat or drink anything after sunset except for water until he does Havdalah. Continues the second phase of the halakha. Now he wants to speak about what happens if a person was already eating bread, the bread meal before sunset. And what does that mean? Here we go. Aval im haya yoshev v'ochel mib'od yom. But if a person was sitting and he was eating when it was still day, v'chashchalo, and now the sun set on him, ein tzarich lafsik, he does not need to stop. In the parentheses brought down, afilu b'shtiya, even from drinking, when he's drinking it in the bread meal, you don't even have to stop drinking after sunset, the drinks that you're drinking. He brings this down in the name of the Beit Yosef. So we see over here the Shulchan Aruch is telling us, again, we have to see inside. Remember, every given halacha needs to be dissected. So the second phase of the halacha is, a person began his bread meal before sunset, before 6 o'clock. Now 6:01 happened. Is he allowed to continue to eat? Yes or no? Halacha tells you you're allowed to continue to eat after sunset. Needless to say, you're allowed to continue to eat even after when the 3 stars come out, which is at 6:15. Beautiful. The Mishnah Berurah in Sivkat and Bet says, Yoshev ve'ochel. He said that if you're sitting and you're eating, what does that mean? That if a person began to sit and he was eating when the day started and then the sun set, he does not need to stop. What does this mean? What does it mean to begin? What does that mean? That he was sitting and eating. From when? So the Mishnah Berurah says, V'afilu rak atchala be'alma. Even if he merely began the Su'udah Shalishit before sunset. What does it mean he began before Su'udah Shalishit? The Mishnah Berurah says, Shibirech Birkat Hamoti. He blessed the blessing of Hamoti Lechem Min Haaretz. He said, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Hamoti Lechem Min Haaretz. Mid Be'od Yom. All this was said during the day. V'nishtiha le'chol ad shechashcha. But he postponed to eat the bread until the sunset. He brings us down in the name of the Achronim, the later generation rabbis. Comes out over here, the Mishnah Berurah is telling you a very big chiddush. You would have thought that this whole halacha, where the Mishnah Berurah, where the Shulchan Aruch says, if a person was sitting and eating when it was day, you would have thought that the eating is before sunset. That means I already have to put the bread in my mouth and start chewing it before sunset. The Achronim tell you could learn the Peshat and the Shulchan Aruch that even if you only said Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz, and for whatever reason you didn't get a chance to eat it until after sunset, that's considered to be the beginning of the bread meal, the Su'udah Shalishit. So let's give us a practical example. Reuben comes home, he sits down, Su'udah Shalishit, he sees literally has a minute to go. He goes, he washes his hands, he sits down, 30 seconds to go. He starts saying the bracha Einechol Lechem Baruch Ata Hashem Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Now he looks around, he doesn't see the knife, which he doesn't need, he could just break it. He doesn't see the salt. Halachically, you don't need the salt, it's only Kabbalistically. This is not the class for that. But he wants to do it in salt. So he tells his wife, right? He tells his wife, she brings him the knife and the salt. By the time he cuts it, by the time he dips it, he looks at the time, it's already 6:01 after sunset. Are we going to say that Reuven did the halacha or not? L'chatchila or not? We're going to tell you Reuven did the halacha the way the Shulchan Aruch requires of him, because the Hamotzi bracha was already placed before sunset. Once the Hamotzi bracha is placed before sunset, we don't care when you start eating. Again, when it comes to these things, you have to start right away. You're not allowed to postpone. But the Shulchan Aruch is saying, what happens if you did postpone for whatever reason? We're going to tell you we're going after the bracha, and we're not going after the eating of the bread meal. Okay. Rabotai, we're in Od Gimel. Rabbi Dahan has a real Od Gimel in Amodei Hora'ah. It's on page 148, and he says like this. What happens, he's going to ask you a question. This is good when you're speaking about bread. But what happens if a person began to eat mizanot? He can't eat bread. Right? He ate, I don't know, Shabbat is very short. 3 o'clock, he just got up from his meal, and now you want him to eat Su'udah Shalishit at 5 o'clock? He can't do it. So we tell him the next best thing is mizanot, right? So what are we going to tell this person? If this person began eating mizanot before sunset, is he allowed to continue into after sunset or even after nightfall, or do we tell him he has to stop at a certain point? So Rabbi Dahan Shlita brings down over here and he says, if before the sun set, a person was sitting and he was eating the different types of mizanot, and now the sun set, כל זמן בין השמשות רשאי להמשיך לאכול ממיני מזונות. חזון עובדיה, שבת חלק ב' עמוד שצ"ה, שיש אומרים, okay, fine. רבותיי, I'll explain to what he's saying over here. Chacham Ovadia and Chazon Ovadia, he wants to tell us like this, that you are allowed to continue to even eating the bread, not the bread, the mizanot, cookies, cakes, pastries, all these kind of things, you're allowed to continue to eat even into the twilight period. That means from 6 to 6:15. If a person began eating a cookie at 5:59, we will allow him to continue eating it after sunset until when the 3 stars come out. In the Ben Hashmashot period, you're going to be allowed to eat the cookies. But he does bring down a real, because why does he say? He says, "Yesh omrim dechashu kehemshech achila rishona ubetzir svara mekilim besach hashcha yesh lakel." Because he says, why am I allowing you to continue to eat into Ben Hashmashot? Because you could actually say that this is really part of your original eating that you began before sunset, and with the combination of the opinion of the lenient opinions that by Sav Chashecha you're allowed to be lenient, that's what we're giving it to you up until when the 3 stars come out. Because remember, we said in the previous Shurim that if a person didn't get a chance to eat before sunset, now I'm speaking about Mizonot now. If a person didn't get a chance to eat before sunset, and now he really has a craving or a very great need or urge to eat Mizonot, he's allowed to eat Mizonot even during the twilight period, which is from 6 till 6:15. So that's what he's telling you, with those opinions, and plus saying that it's a continuation from the first eating you began before sunset, which you began in a permissible way. Chacham Avad is going to tell you you're allowed to continue eating it into twilight, but you're going to have to stop at when the 3 stars come out. He says over here, so Chacham Ben Bashul also says that once you began before sunset, you're allowed to continue into the twilight period. However, Chacham Avad continues in Chazon Avad and he says, Aval, however, im chashcha vaday, dahainu tzedek kochavim, tzarich lafsik. However, he says, if it's 100% night, meaning it's already 6:15, when the 3 stars already come out, tzarich lafsik, you need to stop. That means a person who began eating his mizanot, pastries or cookies, whatever it was, all these issues, all these things, even if you began before sunset, will be lenient to allow you to eat into the twilight period. But Chacham Avad says you have to stop at when the 3 stars come out. So in our scenario, it's 6:15. Remember, Tzedek Kochavim is approximately, it's 13.5 minutes, but it's seasonal minutes like we explained. So more or less, Rabotai, 15 minutes after sunset, that's when the person is going to have to stop eating all types of mizonot. However, he says, "V'ha'ol yitzion in chelik bet perchav bet halacha chet pasak yimir pasak halacha the rashai lamshich av la'acher hashecha keshochel pat kisanin." So Rav Ben Shaul says, if you began before sunset, you're allowed to continue even after nightfall, not like Chacham Ovadia. Or mashma lahakel she'en tzarich lavsi gam acher vaday hashecha. He says it's implied from his words that one can be lenient even after 100% when it becomes dark, meaning at when the 3 stars come out. In our time right now, 6:15, and according to Chacham Ben Bashul, which he holds that it's a 25-minute period of Ben Hashmashot you have. So according to him, it will be 6:25. He says over there, you do not need to stop. So let's say in Rav Ben Bashul's world, he holds that Ben Hashmashot twilight period is 25 minutes, like we saw in the previous Shurim. So if a person began at 5:59 eating cake or cookies, and now Chacham Ben Bashul is going to tell you you're allowed to continue into twilight. Not only that, you're allowed to even continue after twilight, which according to him will be after 6:25 when the 3 stars come out. Why is that? He says Bifrat is, and especially Sherov Kechol Mizanot Shelanu Shem Al Pat Kisanim Bechlal Sav Gamot Yehema. Because especially he says when you're dealing with a lot of the mizonot that we have today, the mizonot products that we have today, you should know that they fall under the category of pat kisanin. They're in the rule of almost safek hamotzi, meaning to say that you have some poskim that will tell you that you have to go ahead and bless hamotzi on mizonot products. We don't do that. We say mizonot, but there's a 3-way machlok. What's considered, when do you have to say mizonot? So if I'm not mistaken, I just don't want to get this into now. Let me see. There's 3 conditions. One, the dough has to be sweet. One, the dough has to be filling, like samsa or like something has filling inside. And the third reason, it has to be crunchy. So just to give you a better understanding, a person is eating a bread meal. Doesn't matter whenever he's eating the bread meal. Usually we tell him it's better to do birkat hamazon and then have mizanot products. Why? Because of this whole problem. Because some rabbis learn that it has to only be sweet, but if it doesn't have all the 3, you could say hamotzi, and so on and so forth. So what do? We take all those 3 stringent opinions, that as long as you do not have these 3 opinions, that is sweet, filling, mean the mizanot item it has filling inside, not that it's filling you up, it's filling inside, or if it's not crunchy, you're never going to be allowed to bless mizanot when you are in a bread meal. So give you an example. a person is sitting right now in the Shabbat meal, let's say, and afternoon or after Friday night, now the wife brings out cake. She brings out a cake which is sweet, filling, but when you bite on the cake, it's not crunchy. Are you allowed to go ahead and bless in mizanot on it or not? You're not allowed to bless. The only time we're going to allow you to bless in mizanot is on an item which has all three, sweet, filling, and crunchy. Only then can you bless mizanot on it when you are eating in the bread meal. Because otherwise we're going to say, maybe it's really hamotzi, so in hamotzi you can cover it, like Rabbi Dahan is saying over here. So it comes out over here that halachically speaking comes Rabbi Dahan, and he's telling us over here in the name of Rabbi Ben Shaul, that if a person began to eat before sunset, he's allowed to continue even after nightfall without any problem. The reason being is because he wants to say our mizanot almost fall into the category of the bread meal, meaning it falls in the category of the bracha of hamotzi. So if it falls in there, so maybe really it's like bread. So just like when it comes to bread, we allow you to continue to eat after nightfall. So to me, Rabbi Shaul is going to tell you you're allowed to eat after nightfall. Now, Rabotai, I want to conclude over here only because the next piece, it begins something else completely, but let's just conclude with a small review. The Shulchan Aruch said that if a person was sitting and eating before sunset, and now the sun set on him, he does not need to stop even from drinking his drink. We saw the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat and Aleph gave us a beautiful chiddush. What does it mean that he began his Sudah Shlishit? When is that? That as long as you say Amot Lechem Haaretz, that's considered to be the beginning of the third meal, and you don't even have to go ahead and you didn't have to have the bread in your mouth in order to say that you fulfill the mitzvah the best possible way. So one more time, a person began before sunset, he said Hamotzi, and for whatever reason, which he's not allowed to do lechatchila, but he postponed after sunset to eat the bread, we're going to tell you that you did the mitzvah the correct possible way. But then we did see also in Rabbi Dahan Shlita in his Sefer in Amudei Hora'ah in Od Gimel, where he brings down over there that this is regarding into Hamotzi. When you're dealing with bread products, we allow you to begin before sunset and you can continue even after nightfall. However, when it comes to mizanot products, we saw over here there's a machloket between Chacham Ovadia and Rabbi Ben Shaul. Chacham Ovadia is going to tell you as long as you began before sunset, you are allowed to continue into twilight, because we have leading opinions that tell you even in twilight you're allowed to eat. But Chacham Ovadia is going to tell you, however you want to look at it, you started before sunset, you started in twilight, you must stop when the 3 stars come out, and in his world it's 6:15. So after 6:15, a person is no longer allowed to have anything according to Chacham Ovadia, except for water, like the Shulchan Aruch says. However, we did see in the opinion of Rabbi Shaul that he holds no. Once you began eating mizanot products before sunset, you're allowed to continue even after the 3 stars come out, and the reason being is because maybe these mizanot products fall under the rule of having the bracha on them of hamotzi, so therefore he says you don't have to stop. Rabotai, halacha l'maaseh. Like I said before, if you guys want to use the Rabbi Shaul, please consult your local rabbi, only because I'm saying this, because I'm trying to keep it in the direction of Chacham Ovadia's Yosef, so it's clear